I'm going to suggest to you that you protect your interest in it as far as what you're entitled to, a quarter of it.
So we bought these 4 lots when we moved here to Flagstaff at Coyote Pass with the intention of dividing them up into 5 pieces of property and eventually building on them. We're now at the point in the next couple of months that we need to pay it off.
During one of their many, let's all pretend we're one big happy family couch interviews, Christine decided it was time for a little truth bomb. She asked Robyn point blank why she didn't want her help with the kids, adding, "Isn't that what sister wives are supposed to do?" Cue Robyn, clearly caught off guard, with a slightly panicked, "Really? Are we doing this?" While Cody, ever the brave patriarch, found something fascinating to stare at on the floor. Funny how Christine never turned to him for an answer, right? This supposed team effort concept of sister wives helping raise each other's kids is constantly paraded as a foundational principle. But when it came to Robyn, it was all just lip service. Her actions, keeping her kids away from Christine's help, completely undermined everything she claimed to want for her family. And then Robyn had the nerve to complain that her kids weren't fully accepted or integrated. How could they be if she was busy building walls between them and the rest? And yes, it's a mystery why I'm so invested in the drama of strangers who've chosen to air their lives on TV and social media. But here I am, irrationally furious, especially as I remember that moment Robyn sighed. Thanks, Christine. Let's not forget Cody in all this. Sure, Robyn may deserve some of the criticism, but he's the puppet master in the whole mess, constantly playing them against each other. He's the one pulling the strings, fueling the drama, and frankly, he's gotten exactly what he wanted from this chaos. I hope he's done with the show for good. He doesn't deserve any more time in the spotlight. In that instant, Christine exposed Robyn's true colors to everyone. It became clear that Robyn not only had outside help, but was actively keeping her kids separate. And you can bet Christine paid the price for calling her out like that. Off camera, Cody probably unloaded on her, taking away whatever small freedoms she had left until she groveled to his satisfaction. We've got so much to dive into today, so let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight into it. Hey everyone, what's up? It's Elena here, and welcome back to my channel Reality Nexus X. Lately, I'm seeing a lot of criticism directed at her, specifically about the kindness and generosity she's extending to Cody and Robyn. And just to be clear, I'm not here to tell anyone how to feel. Everyone's entitled to their own perspective. But when I really listen to what she's saying, I see something deeper. A mother who has endured the devastating loss of a child amidst a family torn apart by conflict. Maybe, just maybe, she's simply trying to find some peace amid it all. Just to be clear, I don't think Cody and Robyn have earned the grace Janelle is showing them, far from it. But I also don't think this kindness is actually for them. It seems more like it's her way of keeping herself centered and moving forward. So, Robyn is actually a witch? Hear me out. In the latest episode, she joked about people thinking she cast a spell on Cody to keep him in her thrall. And let's face it, the evidence is piling up. Remember that string ring Cody gave her while courting? Not a typical engagement ring, more like something you'd find in a spellbook, right? Then there's her unique collection of massive geodes. No one needs that many unless they're brewing something. And that dungeon-esque home decor. The whole place is dark, moody, and feels just a bit cursed. Not to mention her side profile, the perfect crescent moon shape that totally fits the only bad witches are ugly stereotype. And it doesn't stop there. She hired Mystic Mona for a reading and, surprise, actually knew some of the card meanings. Coincidence? Or something more sinister? Remember the burning rituals, like the time Cody's black duffel bag went up in flames? Or how she suggested Meri should burn her marriage certificate? She even had Meri's wedding ring melted down when she joined the family. Sounds like classic spell work to me. And let's not forget her infamous spirit baby, her late-night witching hour chats with Meri, and her excuse for not liking animals because of germs. Sure, Robyn, We all know animals sense dark energy, and that's the real reason. Cody's shield amulet? Yeah, apparently it's a literal shield, judging by how fast he ran when Meri's sister tried to touch it. And what's with her obsession with vision boards and dreams? Sounds more like she's frustrated that her spells keep backfiring. Guess she didn't read the instructions properly, or should I say her instructions? Last season, Cody even said, "I'll be the devil you think I am." Dark magic vibes much. Her supplement stash is likely a potion pantry in disguise. After all, she's too busy with potions to actually cook. And her Precious Moments figurines? Yeah, those are probably just all the people she's turned to stone. So, what do you all think? Is she a real-life witch? Or is this just like that South Park episode, where everyone thought Kim K was a hobbit? Either way, I'm watching for more signs. I'm doing a rewatch, and they're on that family Hawaiian vacation, where they're headed to a luau hosted by locals. Cody suddenly has an issue with it because they're serving pork from a whole roasted pig. Apparently, he's decided that since Jesus didn't eat pork, he doesn't think the family should either. But here's the kicker, they regularly eat bacon, which is, of course, pork. So, why is bacon fine, but the pig at the luau isn't? I think he mentioned that he'd only recently given up pork to try eating kosher, which kind of makes sense. A lot of fundamentalist Christians and Mormon groups have a fascination with certain Jewish customs. They observe Passover, keep kosher, etc. It's like a kind of cultural borrowing. But honestly, it seemed like a control thing here, as if Cody was just flexing his influence to see who'd fall in line with his latest dietary restriction. His loss, though, Kalua pork is one of the best foods on the planet. The whole concept of fetishizing Jewish culture really resonates with me. My mom once joined a fundamentalist group that did the same thing. I found it pretty frustrating because she even stopped making my favorite comfort food since it had pork. And if you're adopting Jewish law for real, shouldn't you also be denouncing the New Testament? So, someone mentioned that Christine repeats herself constantly, and now I can't unhear it. You weren't wrong. The only one I ever caught before was her saying, "Let me catch my breath, sweetheart. Let me catch my breath," but now it's at least 50% of the time. Interestingly, repeating yourself can actually be a trauma response, often from not being listened to, which could definitely apply to Christine. And as a psychologist, I have to say, watching everyone throw around disorders to explain why Christine repeats herself is wild. The armchair diagnoses are something else. My Kelty and Tony with the fart and poop questions. I just started watching A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, and I had to pause to post this. My Kelty says in her talking head that she and her siblings are witty and sarcastic. But seriously, pushing the "have you farted" in front of each other yet? thing is just plain gross. Sure, it's got shock value, but that's about it. True wit and sarcasm are clever and well-timed, not just a bunch of cringy potty humor. Honestly, this is way more cringe than any PDA they could throw at us. But hey, I guess they're really gunning for a TLC show. Honestly, I'd give just about anything to see all 5 of them on that couch, watching each one finally get called out. Imagine it. Meri and Christine hashing it out over the ring drama, Cody and Robyn facing questions about everything, everyone airing their grievances right there for the world to see. Janelle could lay down the law about her plans for Coyote Pass. Cody could explain his lawyering up comments. It would be glorious. And to top it off, imagine throwing in truth clips from past episodes. Like Cody recently saying Meri was never loyal. Fit and cue footage of him giving her that awful loyalty necklace and claiming it meant everything. Or Robyn claiming they were never accepted, followed by clips of the family bending over backward to include her and her kids. The contradictions would be impossible to ignore. I'm not saying they're outright liars, but let's just say they aren't exactly committed to the whole truth either. At this point, though, maybe it's all pointless. They've all suffered a huge loss, and maybe it's time to finally retire this series. What was supposed to be a show proving the strength of this family's plural marriage turned into an unintentional expose on why it didn't work. Do we really need another season to show us what's already so obvious? I'm doing a rewatch, and Robyn's offer to be Meri's surrogate has me a bit puzzled. Maybe someone can help me make sense of this. So Meri had previously shared that she's been diagnosed with unexplained infertility. She'd had a miscarriage about a year prior, and as far as the doctors could tell, there wasn't a specific medical reason for it. In an earlier episode, Cody and Meri went on a getaway where he asked if she'd consider IVF. Meri responded that while she was open to having a baby, she only wanted it to happen naturally, not through scientific intervention. Then, during Solomon's birth, Robyn offered to be Meri's surrogate. It came across as a touching gesture, but here's where I got lost. Cody must have told Robyn that he already offered Meri IVF, and she turned it down. So Robyn volunteering to carry the baby, an offer that would still involve IVF, just in her body, seems a little misplaced. If doctors can't identify a specific fertility issue, you'd think Meri's uterus would still be up to the task. Why does Robyn assume that her womb is the missing piece? Am I missing something? This time around, it just struck me as kind of nonsensical. Personally, I always felt that even if Meri had agreed to IVF, Cody would have found a way to stall or let it fade into nothing. And yes, Robyn must have known that Meri wasn't open to IVF, which makes the offer seem more like an empty gesture, one that was crafted to make Robyn appear selfless and caring. Robyn has a way of making things about her, usually by crying and claiming center stage, no matter the situation. And let's be honest, she's always conscious of how saintly she comes off to Cody. Let's not forget that she had herself re-virginized for him, and even created that family memory photo, where she completely rewrote history to show her kids with Cody in a past that never existed. She edited Christine and her kids out of a real photo, manufacturing this pretend family history. And ultimately, in a way, she erased them all in real life. Cody's definitely the worst, but Robyn's been complicit every step of the way. I recently watched those teasers where Janelle talks to Meri about the property. Basically, Janelle says she's got Meri's back, but also reminds her to be on the lookout for what Robyn and Cody might pull when it comes time to sell the property. Classic move, warning Meri about the chaos Cody and Robyn are capable of. Then there was that next teaser with Christine introducing David to Meri. Honestly, it was surprisingly pleasant. They were civil, maybe even cordial, but nothing too dramatic. Now, here's my unpopular opinion. Christine should have invited Meri to her wedding. I get it, the bride doesn't owe anyone an invite, and it's supposed to be about the bride and groom, all that jazz. But come on, Christine could have been the bigger person here. They were civil, they got along fine. Sure, Christine has her reasons for not inviting Meri. She still has some leftover feelings about how Meri acted when leaving Cody. But with Meri out of the picture now, why not extend a little olive branch? I mean, all three of them have their baggage from the past, but a lot of it boils down to Cody playing them off each other. Now that they've all left him, maybe they could start working through things together. But of course, that's just my 2 cents. We do have to remind ourselves that we don't actually know these people. There's so much that happens behind the scenes that we never see, and Christine's reasons for her decisions are hers alone. At the end of the day, it's not anyone else's place to dictate who should or shouldn't be invited to a wedding. And let's not forget, Meri herself said she understood why she wasn't invited. She wouldn't have invited Christine either. Plus, Leon seemed perfectly fine with the decision. If they get it, maybe we should too. Let's face it though, maybe it's time we accept that we don't have all the details and let Christine, Meri, and everyone else decide who gets to be in their lives. As for Christine being a mean girl, well, that's a bit of a stretch, but there's no denying she plays the drama game. People love to fawn over Christine and Janelle, but let's remember, these two weren't exactly besties until Flagstaff. They bonded over their shared tension with Cody. You know the saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And every time Christine has a big event, she's sure to remind us who's not on her guest list: Cody, Robyn, and Meri. As if it's a badge of honor, Christine loves the drama, no question. She can't resist stirring the pot and playing the mean girl role. Now, regarding this so-called abuse Meri allegedly inflicted on the kids, give me a break. Meri was not abusive. If anything, she was the one doing the heavy lifting when it came to discipline because Christine and Janelle couldn't be bothered. Those two happily left it up to Meri to be the enforcer, and guess who took the heat for it? Meri. The kids who complained about her, Peden, who, by the way, has his own issues, Mykelti and Madison, are the same ones with their own problems, so it's not exactly surprising they had issues with Meri. Meanwhile, the rest of the kids got along just fine with her. Let's not forget, Meri had a front row seat at Logan's wedding. And Gwen, who's often been supportive of Meri, even praised her during that whole text message debacle, reminding everyone that they were still family. And finally, let's just call it like it is, Christine can be petty. She does things that benefit her or stir up drama for attention, and then expects a parade when she does the bare minimum of being cordial. She's more like Cody than anyone wants to admit. These hardline boundaries she's drawing, totally childish and meant to hurt people while she acts like she's taking the high road. She won't take responsibility for the mess that was the last 25 years of her life, but she'll sure make sure everyone knows how superior she feels now that she's met the love of her life. Now that she's cut her ties with Cody, she gets to act like she's enlightened and above it all. Meanwhile, she still talks down to Meri and Janelle because they haven't fully cut the cord with Cody. That, apparently, really grinds her gears. Why is Cody so obsessed with Caleb? That's the real question here. Seriously, what's up with Cody and Caleb's whole relationship dynamic? I know I'm on season 11, where they're still planning the wedding, but based on the chatter I'm seeing, it seems like this bromance doesn't just end there. Even in the later seasons, Cody still seems way too giddy around Caleb, almost like he's forgotten he has other son-in-laws at this point. So what's the deal with Caleb? Why is Cody so enamored? My theory? It's a mix of things, really. First off, Caleb is the quintessential macho man in Cody's eyes. He's everything Cody wishes he could be. Tough, rugged, the kind of guy who would fit right in with Cody's dream of being the alpha male. I wouldn't be surprised if Caleb would have gotten along well with Cody's brother Win, the one Cody clearly has some serious unresolved issues with. Then there's the connection with Cody's favorite brother, Curtis, who was married to Caleb's sister. That's no small thing. The history and that familial bond add layers to Caleb's status in Cody's eyes. It's not just daughter's boyfriend anymore. There's this whole my brother's in-law angle, which adds a level of comfort or maybe even validation for Cody. And let's not forget the timeline. When Cody first met Caleb, he was probably at the height of his favorite daughter phase with Maddie. So it's kind of like that awkward Ross and Chandler dynamic from Friends, where Ross is all my best friend is dating my sister, a little weird, a little possessive, but definitely loaded with strange feelings. Honestly, I think Cody was just desperate for male companionship. The guy was surrounded by women all the time, and he probably saw Caleb as the buddy he could finally bond with in a way he couldn't with the other men in his life. It wasn't just Maddie's boyfriend anymore. Caleb had this whole different, pre-existing connection with Cody that probably made the relationship feel more like a broship than just a father-in-law dynamic. So yeah, it's a mix of admiration, jealousy, and the need for a manly friend. It's almost like Cody was looking for his own wingman, and Caleb just happened to fit that role perfectly. The whole situation about the church kicking the Browns out is definitely confusing, especially when you think about how public they were with the show. The idea that they'd be punished or cast out for doing sister wives seems bizarre, especially considering how they painted polygamy in a very sanitized, mainstream light on TV. You'd think that a show with such a wholesome and normalized portrayal of polygamy would be a perfect way for the church to attract new followers, right? They were essentially showing polygamy to mainstream America, and there weren't really any major scandals attached to it. Sure, families go through struggles and divorce, but that's true for any family. Nothing about their situation seemed scandalous at first glance, so why would the church kick them out? You'd think Cody would be treated like the Tom Cruise of Scientology, praised, revered, even idolized for putting polygamy on the map in a more relatable way. The Browns could have been the church's golden family, the ones to represent polygamy in a modern, more digestible way. One theory is that the church simply doesn't want to draw too much attention to itself. After all, it's already well known that a lot of polygamists in Utah are living under the radar, trying to keep things private. So if the church is trying to keep its shady, secretive practices under wraps, whether that's fraud, shady dealings, or just general weirdness, maybe they saw the Browns' fame as a potential threat. If they're too public, they risk drawing in scrutiny, and the church doesn't want that. Maybe the Browns were seen as a little too visible for their tastes. Another conspiracy theory is that maybe the church just didn't like Cody or his family in particular. Maybe they didn't want the Browns as representatives, especially if they didn't think they embodied the values or image the church wanted to project. Cody's whole vibe could have rubbed some church members the wrong way. He's flashy, he's on TV, he's not exactly the humble, low-profile type they might prefer. And then there's the whole financial issue. A lot of these polygamist families use food stamps or other public assistance programs while hiding their paternity stories and claiming multiple kids under different names. If the Browns became too high profile, they might risk opening the church up to investigations for fraud or misrepresentation. That kind of scrutiny is the last thing any organization wants, especially one that's already working in the shadows. In short, while the Browns' fame could have been seen as an opportunity, it also posed a lot of risks for the church, especially if it brought unwanted attention or made them look bad. So maybe the best move, in their eyes, was to distance themselves. After all, there's more going on behind closed doors than we'll probably ever know. It's true that Cody and Meri's marriage seems to have been shrouded in mystery, especially when compared to his other relationships with Christine and Janelle, where there are clear turning points. With Meri, we don't have the same kind of concrete events that marked the breakdown of their relationship, at least not before the infamous catfish scandal. The picnic table conversation was a pivotal moment, but it was already much later in the marriage, and by then, a lot of the tension had already built up. One thing that stands out is that Cody and Meri never really seemed to have come to an agreement on why things fell apart beyond the usual "we're incompatible" narrative. Sure, the obvious factors, Cody's tendency to be a bit of a jerk and Meri's demanding, sometimes militant nature, certainly played a part. But Cody's claim that nothing he did was ever good enough for Meri rings true, especially considering how his relationship with her was reportedly more about the idea of polygamy than any real emotional connection between the two. The couple's issues were perhaps compounded by the fact that they didn't really know each other well when they first got married. Polygamy was a big part of Meri's desires, so Cody married her, but it seems like they didn't have the kind of foundation that could sustain a marriage in a plural family. Add infertility issues to the mix, and it's no wonder things started to unravel. Cody's attention eventually shifted to Janelle, and their relationship dynamics completely shifted after she came into the picture. There are lots of rumors about their early years, and from what's been said by the kids and others close to the family, it seems Meri had a very rigid, my way or the highway attitude, which definitely didn't mesh well with Cody's more passive approach to conflict. Meri's stubbornness worked in some situations, but it was a tough fit in a plural marriage where everyone had to share the space. She reportedly tried to pull rank and take control, but Cody didn't have the tools to manage that kind of conflict, so he simply threw his hands up and turned to Janelle. Interestingly, some of the early stories about the marriage paint a picture of a relationship that was doomed from the start. Cody reportedly met Robyn first, but then introduced her to Meri, who was seemingly expected to take the fall for Robyn's eventual place in the family. It seems like this set the tone for a lot of their issues. Perhaps Cody never fully understood the emotional implications of such decisions, or Meri felt sidelined by the constant shifting of allegiances. Ultimately, it seems like Meri and Cody never really knew how to work through their differences, and their relationship lacked the emotional depth that could have held it together. Instead, they were both trapped in a system that expected them to make it work, even when it was clear they were just too different. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree or disagree? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates. Your opinions matter, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.